might be a delay.
You're not the only one on.
You want to come sit my mommy and us? Granny? With Haley? Come on, let's go sit. Oh, yeah. Okay, sit down.
Okay. We are now actually lunch.
Oh, fun. Hi, Dad.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to let you know to keep your fork when you want dessert. We're a little short on them, so that would be much appreciated. Thank you.
That just adds to the look though, right?
No. Right there. I got
Look, you got Ruth in there now.
Yep.
Hello. So, has everybody had a little bit to eat? Are we good? Should we kick off with some stories? With some fun stuff? We all ready? Say yeah, raise the roof. Woo, woo. I'm really not cool, so I don't even know what you say. So, Chris, wherever Chris is, wrote a life sketch for Grandpa Ferrele. And I'm going to go ahead and read that now because after I go, we're going to have kind of a spiritually minded message and thought. And then Chris is going to kick us off with his favorite story or 5, whichever one he's decided to tell, all right? So I'm going to start by reading what Chris wrote as a life sketch for Ferrele. So in loving memory of Ferrele Ivel Russell, husband, dad, grandpa, son, brother, and uncle, Ferrele Ivel Russell was born February 15th, 1950, to Ivel Ferrele Russell and Joyce B. Ward Russell. He was the oldest of 4 children, siblings Steve, Brenna, and Dorothy. He attended Dora Erickson Elementary School, Clary Gale Junior High School, where he played football, Central High School, then Idaho Falls High School. The closeness of that family and the love and respect he had for his parents and siblings is something he mentioned throughout his entire life. Can you go sit with your families, please? Thanks. Cool. Just a second, okay? Thanks. The closeness of that family and the love and respect he had for his parents and siblings is something he mentioned throughout his entire life. It's also a quality he brought to his own family when he started it. He married Shelley Wilcox in 1969, and their first child, a baby girl named Melissa Jane, was born on October 6, 1970. Unfortunately, she was born prematurely and only lived for 3 days. This was a hard blow to the new parents, and they often talked about later in life of how it hurt, but they were thankful that they had got to hold her and see her little face and knew she was in a better place than they were. They continued striving to start a family, and pretty soon along came Chris in 1971, Devaney in 1972, and Spencer in 1974. From that time in his life until the end, Ferrele's pride and joy and the meaning of his life was his children and family. His kids were raised in such loving compassion and caring that they were well into their own adult years before they had even realized how many sacrifices had been made and how much hard work had been put in to see to their well-being and happiness. Hugs were, to his dying day, very prevalent and given with heart. I love you and call me if you need anything were said often and with meaning. He always let it be known that being a dad was the best calling he ever had and the most rewarding. His children remained close to him until the end. Through life's trials and circumstances, it became apparent that Ferrele and Shelley's marriage was not destined to be forever, and even though they had both put enormous effort into making it work, they eventually divorced. On a beautiful note, they remained close friends and confidants until his death. Ferrele eventually met the love of his life, Cheryl, and they were married in 1989. Cheryl adapted surprisingly well to having 3 new brats in her life, and Ferrele inherited 4 beautiful stepchildren, Megan, Summer, JT, and Nick. They grew their new family with unending love, as well as their nature, and their newly split family became a whole. A happy new part of Ferrele's life was having grandchildren. He loves his grandchildren with love he often said only a grandparent could understand. He has been heard saying that God took the truest love he ever had for his children and made it bigger. Family was truly the only important thing in Ferrele's life, and the bigger the better. He had and still has enough love for us all. Sadly, family being his life, his biggest blow as a father happened with the death of Spencer, who passed away while on a business party in Cancun, Mexico. This hurt Ferrele deeply in a way that he was never able to put into words. However, his family being one that had been raised in love, they pulled together and healed each other. He has said many times that without the love and support of Cheryl, he never would have been able to cope with that loss. Ferrele was a man of many talents and occupations. Shortly after his first marriage, he began a successful career selling cars and did that for many years. Eventually, he got into the potato packaging business, then it became apparent that he had a mind for the industry and quickly worked his way up to various supervisor positions until he became a manager of one of the main facilities. After doing that for many years, he was approached by the USDA because of his knowledge of potatoes and all their intricacies, what makes them good or bad, and he became an inspector of their department, certifying fresh packed potatoes for shipment to other regions. After retiring from the USDA, he started his own shuttle business, River City Rides, which he worked and managed until his full retirement. Cheryl was one of the biggest blessings he ever got in life, and their love and support for one another was apparent to anybody who knew them. She was with him to the end, and they faced life's trials and tribulations with love, strength, and a firm belief in the man upstairs. Their love for one another set many examples and warmed the hearts of anybody who knew them. Together, they created happiness, gave hope, and instilled a sense of peace. Ferrele Russell, husband, father, son, grandpa, great-grandpa, uncle, teacher, mentor, hard-ass driver's ed instructor, advice giver, great listener, heart of gold, and inspiration to many, you will be missed. So, Heather.
Oh, I'm short.
Hello, can you hear me? Awesome. So my name is Heather, and I am JT's wife, and favorite and at this point only wife. Hopefully that's the case forever. I am so grateful to be here, and as I was thinking about Ferrele, I don't think there was ever a time that I said hello or goodbye to Ferrele that he didn't say, "Well, I just love you, honey. I just love you so much." And he truly was a great example of love. And as I was thinking of something that I could share about him, the scripture came to mind from 1 Corinthians that talks about charity. And I think it's such a great description of Ferrele. And I just wanted to read a couple of verses because I think this really captures his personality. It says, "Charity suffereth long and is kind." Isn't that true? "Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself and is not puffed up." And I think that's so true of Ferrele. He's so humble and always sees the good in other people, and he also expresses the good that he sees in other people. And I just always would leave talking with him feeling like seen and loved and recognized, and I felt I'd never heard Ferrele say anything that was puffing himself up. He was always building up the people around him. That's something I really love about him. It says, "It doth not behave itself unseemingly." Well, he might be unseeming sometimes when he tells jokes. I know there's quite a bit of potty humor that would happen. But outside of that, it says also, "Seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth." And then especially these verses, it says, "Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things." And just like we heard in the life sketch, he had many challenges that he faced in his life, but he always really relied on his belief in God and his faith and his testimony, and it saw him through so many things. And I just really love him for that. And I know that Ferrele came with a light inside of him, and that light guided him throughout his life. And each of us have a light inside of us that tells us what's right and wrong. And I know that that light that he had inside of him, that he always used to make his decisions in life and to do the things that he chose to do, that it led him to a very good place, and that he is at rest and at peace now. And I know that each one of us have a light inside of us. And there's a scripture in Doctrine and Covenants, and it says, oh, I didn't get the chapter. It's verse 12 of some chapter, so if you really like it, Google it. But it says, "And now verily, verily, I say unto thee, put your trust in that Spirit which leadeth to do good, yea, to do justly, to walk humbly, and to judge righteously, and this is my spirit." And I know that we can all rely on that light inside of us that helps us know the right things to do, and that it will guide us back, and that we will see Ferrele again. And I can't help but think that he's here with each of us, and that his influence will definitely that his influence will live on, and that he will be close by. And I'm so grateful for the way that he touched my family's life and my life, and I just love him dearly. And it's so wonderful to be here with so many of you that he loved. And anyway, I share this message with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Hello, I'm Chris. I'm Ferrele's son.
Come close to the mic.
Hello. Tell you all beforehand, if I choke up, I can't talk, and I'll try not to. So please bear with me. But I was asked to share a story with my dad, spiritual, funny, however, and for 3 days I've been thinking of. I still screwed it up. COVID. As a particular story, and there's just so many. I just thought I'd talk just about the kind of man my dad was. He was. Let me start beatboxing. He was my dad. Anybody that knows him just knows that he was just one hell of a guy. He was happy. Being a dad, like his life sketch said, that was his life. We grew up just spoiled without knowing it. Our family was one of love, and say hugs were prevalent. I love yous were prevalent. I mean, me being a kid, I just thought that's how families were. But one thing does stick out in particular. I was in high school. I think it was in summer vacation. We were going camping. I think it was with the scouts or somebody. Anyway, somebody came to pick me up. One of the guys came to the door and knocked, are you ready? And yeah, hold on. My dad was there. It was a weekend. And so, I'm leaving and gave him a hug. Love you. Well, be careful up then. And we were walking back out the car, and my friend's like, "You hugged your dad." Yeah, at first I thought he was kind of making fun of me. I'm like, "Yeah, is there a problem?" He said, "No." He said, "My dad's never hugged me." I said, "He loves me, I know that, but he's not the kind that shows it." I was like, "Oh, it's just something we do." So we got talking on the way up to wherever we go, and a lot of the guys there were the same. I'm just like, "Oh, really?" So I'm the oddball, okay. But that's just how we grew up. We weren't the poorest, we weren't the richest, we never went without. My dad was just always the hardworking. He was dad. He gave you support, gave discipline when it was needed. There are a few things funny stories. One thing that when I was a kid that we looked forward to was when my dad had to work on his car. My dad, like his son, was not a mechanic, passed it on to me, but at the time we lived in his house, and it had a garage, but it wasn't attached to the house. It was kind of out in the backyard, and they parked in front of it because it seemed like my grandpa had a boat in there or something. But anytime my dad was going to work on his car, me and my brother knew it, so we would wait for him to get outside, and we'd grab our pillows, a tablet, and a pencil. And we would walk halfway around the block and then come back down the alley and go into that garage by the back door, so my dad didn't know we were there. So it's just a little metal garage door in between us. We couldn't see each other, we could hear him. Pretty soon you'd hear something slip. And then the words came. And we'd also take our pillows because we had to laugh into them. And we'd write these words down because I don't know that. Write it down. We'll look at it. We didn't have Google back then. We had to look stuff up in the dictionary. But I remember hours of entertainment at his expense because you would have had been, that was hilarious. I still know some choice words from those times. He taught me. The cool thing about my dad was he was always upbeat. Even when hard times fell on him or other people, he was always one that, we'll make it through. And food was a cure-all. Anything was wrong, it was, oh yeah, you know what you need? You need an Arctic Circle Blizzard, Dairy Queen Blizzard. Oh, really? I got an infection. Oh, yeah. I know. There was always a food for it. That was cool about my dad. It's just too many memories to try to put into one. He loved the outdoors, and many of the good memories I have, we were camping or fishing or just hiking or whatever. He was an awesome dad. He was there for you no matter what. We've all had our lows, and at your low, he was the guy to call. And if he was in a low, you would never know it. He was the guy to come to, not the guy to ask for help. But he was just, there's no one word that can describe my dad. I love you, Dad. He will be missed. And I know I'll see him again. I know he's with my brother. Thanks.
I have a short one because there's a lot of things I remember about Ferrele, but I didn't spend near as much time as I'd like to have. And I remember lots of times getting together and he would sing and play his guitar and many jokes that he told. But the one thing that always, every time I think about him, was one thing that always comes to my mind, and it was from one of our family reunions. And he was not really the center of things until he became the center of this conversation, because my friend, some of our family were in our camp trailer. We were playing a game of Risk, and we kept hearing some strange noise. And at first we thought it was our dog in the corner making some funny noise, but we realized she was not making any racket, and it took a while for us to figure out it was outside. It was the tent out next to our camp trailer. Ferrele was out in there, and he was snoring loudly enough that he had brought our entire game to a halt to figure out what was going on. And just every time I think about that, it just makes me smile, because it was just one of those little amusing pieces that happened every time we went camping and Ferrele was there. We just sometimes forgot until we heard it from the nearby tent.
No, I do not sing. Can you hear me?
We should skip. Can we skip?
Nope, you need the beautiful sound. Alrighty, so I am Jeremiah. I am Farrell's grandson. It is pretty weird to call him Farrell. He is Grandpa Farrell to me.
Louder.
Louder? So we have a pretty funny story. It's really funny to us. It's really nostalgic. So when we were like, 5 and 6, maybe 6 and 7, we're about the same age. Grandma Cheryl and Grandpa Farrell took us camping. And still to this day, this is such a prominent story in our childhood. For some reason, it's so small, but it's so funny to us. Hi, Bella. Hold on 1 second. So, yeah, you can go to the park.
So can I take a walk?
Yep, you can take a walk. Be careful, okay? That's Bella. That's my daughter. So we go camping, right? And I don't know how far away it was. I don't know where it was. But to us, it was a distance. It was very far. And on the way up there, we were coming up with songs that we still can remember the lyrics to this day. But the biggest thing that stuck out to us, there was a couple of things. So we're walking down to go to the restroom, and Grandpa's taking us, and there's a car that's coming through, and they have a cat, or they have 2 cats in there. And for some reason, they stopped, and we were looking at their cats, and we said, "How old are your cats?" And they said, "They're 22 years old." Oh, I was 7. And I was like, okay, all right, that's crazy. That's crazy. And so later on that day, Grandpa Farrell takes us to go learn how to cut wood because he was a manly man, and he said, "You guys need to learn how to cut some wood if you ever need to cut some wood." So we're learning how to cut a wood, and he has a chainsaw, right? And he's teaching us, and you want to cut it at an angle, this and that and the other, and it slips and it slices his arm. Everybody who knows Grandpa Farrell knows how sweet and wholesome he was. I've never heard a single word come out of his mouth like came out of his mouth. And he looked at us and he said, "Why you just standing there?" And to this day, me and Cassidy, whenever we meet up and we talk about old school stories, we remember Grandpa cutting his arm with a chainsaw.
And it was our
and
fault.
Like it was our fault. And losing his mind. And then we got back to camp and everything was normal. But that one glimpse when we were 6, 7, that's like one of the biggest memories we have with Grandpa Farrell. And today we talk about it a couple times a year. So we love you, Grandpa Farrell. I can't sing, Cassidy can.
No, I do it with me, Jared. I can't do it by myself. There was a fat cat. His name was Pat at the store. Okay, can everyone hear me in the back? Okay, good. So I'm Cassidy. I am Grandpa Farrell's granddaughter. So I was very fortunate to live with him and Grandma Cheryl for 8 years. And they gave me a very loving and happy home. And I had the pleasure of getting to know my grandpa as a father. My dad is Spencer, his youngest son that passed away. So this is hitting home because when my dad passed away, I went to Grandpa Farrell because he, like everyone says, he comforts everyone around him, even if his world is falling apart. So he just always taught me how to be super strong and to not ever settle for less than what my worth was. And he was just such a funny dude. Like, it was so funny, and he was so good looking. I always loved his silver hair, and it looked like it was highlighted with dark. It was so cute. But he always called me and told me he loved me. My last message from him on Facebook is him a voicemail telling me he loves me. So he was just such a loving guy. But we're gonna miss him, and I know he's happy and in a better place, so congratulations to him. But anyway, yeah.
I figured it worked, you know, be after you. Okay, I'm really short. Hello? Hello. Okay, I am Anna. I am Cassidy's dad's, okay, so Farrell's son's ex-fiance, well, it was his fiance when he passed away on his trip to Cancun. Taylor, his dad, and Cass's dad are the same. Okay, it's Spencer. So, but let's see, Ferrell. Okay, so one of my favorite things about Ferrell was his cute little feet. I loved his cute little feet. And when Taylor was born, I was like, oh my gosh, she got her Grandpa Ferrell's feet. Like, I was so excited because they're just the cutest little toes. I love it. But I've known Ferrell for not as long as probably most of you, but from what I remember and how many times I've seen him, he was just the sweetest man. Like, just always so sweet and always constantly talking about how much he loves his kids, you know, and his family, and how much he loves spending time with them. And I am so very fortunate to have been a part of this family, because seriously, who isn't like the best family ever, for real? Like, this is a great freaking family. Yeah. So I'm very, very, very blessed to be a part of it. So I think that's all I got, though.
Hey guys.
Bring the microphone right up to your face. Here, I can help you. You have a child.
Thanks. Thank you.
Good?
Yeah. Hey guys, my name's Wes. I'm just one of his weird nephews. One of them. But I really love Uncle Ferrell. He's a good example to me. I have a lot of memories of him. When I think of my childhood, some of the highlights were getting together for family reunions or barbecues at my place, and I'd play the guitar and my dad would play the guitar, but we weren't that great. But Chris and Spencer, they were really good, and Uncle Ferrell too, and then when they would come over, we'd have like some crazy hoedowns, and that was a ton of fun. When I was a kid, I kind of worshiped the three of them, still do. So that was a lot of fun. The other thing I would say, kind of like Cassie and some others have mentioned, he did build everyone up around him. He'd always tell me, he and Aunt Cheryl both would be like, oh, you're a good kid. And I was like, no, I'm not. But for some reason, after a while, I started believing him. And I feel like, even though I was never a great kid, it definitely, it made me better than I really was. And just because he always seemed to see the best in me and other people. So I'm going to really miss him. He was a good example to me, and I love him.
This is really out of my comfort zone. But
Right close to the microphone. Don't lick it, but pretty close.
I was right there. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm Farrell's sister-in-law. I'm married to his brother, Steve, and I've known Ferrele for many years now, and he's a very kind man, and I love him very much. I remember him playing the guitar with Steve a lot, and that was so much fun to listen to. He had so many good stories, or songs and stories too. I have a family up in Washington State, and they know Ferrele pretty well. He came up to visit, and they would come here, and they all wish they could be here. And we've gotten cards and everything from them, and they love Ferrele very much. And their wishes are to the family, Cheryl. And let me see. Oh, I do have a story about Ferrele. I got braces when I was 40 years old. My teeth were really, really crooked, really bad. And I was saying to him one time, I said, well, what if I never got my braces? What's going to happen when I go to heaven? Are they going to just go back the way they were? I know that's really vain, right? And so he said to me, he says, I think when you go there, things like that just don't matter. And I thought, yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. And, well, Ferrele, we love you, and you're going to be very, very missed.
Hi, can you all hear me in the back? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, so I don't really have a plan. I also suck at public speaking, so I'm sorry if I break down or whatever, but just preparing you all. But I used to go up, I am his granddaughter. Y'all probably recognize me from serving you queso. That was you? Weird, right? But I used to go up a lot, and my memory's not that good, so I don't have lots of distinct stories other than whenever I'd go in the house, he'd always, oh, come here, Coco, give me one of your Coco hugs, because, that was, his thing. He'd always sit in that big red chair, and he'd be like, oh, Coco, give me one of those Coco hugs, and he'd tell me over and over again how much he loved me, and I feel like that goes for every single one of you here, how he always wanted to make sure how much you knew that he loved you. Sorry, I called it. But I used to go up, some with my sister, some with my family, some by myself, and we'd just either go on drives in his truck with Cookie hanging out the window and him talking to Grammy, and that really didn't matter. His voice was one of the biggest things that I will probably miss more than anything else. Is he just always wanted to make sure that everyone knew how much he loved them, and that was his thing, everybody, there was no capacity to his love. He loved everybody individually, and I keep saying that, I'm so sorry, but and so yeah, I'm gonna miss him a whole lot. I'm gonna miss some technical difficulty, but I'm gonna miss his infinite capacity to love and his chattering about absolutely nothing, literally the paper. I'd sit there and he could go on for 20 to 40 minutes about this one article that he read in the paper 2 weeks ago. And that was Grampy for you. He just wanted every excuse to talk to you and to listen to you and to just express his love for everyone. Anyway, thank you. Love you, Grampy. I don't know. I'm open.
Okay, I won't be crying, so got that off our plate. So my name is Eli, if you don't know. I'm JT and Heather's son. I'm Farrell's grandson. So I don't really have a lot of memories of Farrell up until I was like 6, 7, 8-ish. One thing that I really remember about him is he always asked me what I was doing. I don't know if you all know, but I've been doing dance for the past 5 years, and he always told me that he wanted to come and watch me, and I really wanted him to come and watch me, but I know that he is watching me now. He's watching me grow. He's watching me dance. He's watching me develop, and I'm just really thankful to have him for a grandpa. And he also gave really great hugs. I'm not a very huggy person, but I always loved giving hugs to him, and he always had really nice, abrasive hugs. Yeah, that's what I've got. Thank you.
Okay, I'm nervous here. I'm Barb. I'm Chris's wife. When I met Farrell and Cheryl, I was one of those that was brought up that I knew I was loved, but never hugged or told that. So it was a strange event to me when I went over there, and every time I left, whether he had just met me or 10 years later, you got to give me a hug. I love you. And I will never, ever forget when Chris and I had decided we were going to get married. We went over there, and Chris says, well, we have something we need to tell you. And instantly he said, you're going to have a baby. And I said, no, that just floored the both of us. So we said, no, it's easier to just say we're going to get married. But I will never, ever forget the look on his face as you're going to have a baby. Like that's his grandkids, his kids. I mean, that's what he lived for. And he treated everybody, even friends, family, everybody with love. And the love is what will be instilled in, I think, every one of us.
I loved Uncle Farrell so much because to me he sounded almost exactly like my dad. And one time he called the house when I was little, and I thought it was my dad the whole time talking. They just have that same voice. And like they look similar, they look a lot like my grandma. But I think he always loved me so much, and I got married like last minute and told my family 3 days before, and he showed up, and Aunt Cheryl, I love Aunt Cheryl so much too. Yeah. I'm surprised you're not sitting on the ground though. But best uncle ever. And one time when I was 6, he sat on me And like I was like, Uncle Ferrell, you're sitting on me. He's like, really? And he was so funny, and I loved going camping, and it was so much fun. He never got mad at me. I think he got mad at Wesley one time for being too loud, or for showing Aunt Cheryl a grasshopper. But I know since my grandma couldn't make it, she always talked so much about Uncle Ferrell, and she loved him so much. And I think, what was she, like 20 when she had Uncle Ferrell? She's really young. And she just adores Ferrell. And then there was my grandpa, Russell. I know that he was a little guy, he wasn't that little, but I know that my dad and Uncle Ferrell were like quite a bit bigger than him, and he was always so proud of his boys. He loved them so much. So I love you, Uncle Ferrell.
My name is, you can hear yourself on here louder than out there. My name is Thomas. I am Devaney's husband. We got married April of this year. I'd met Ferrell, I think, 3 times before this phone call. He was on the phone with Devaney. We were driving somewhere, and I could hear him. You can hear the conversation of the person next to you on the phone. Oh, where's Thomas? Oh, he's right here. Let me talk to him. So she hands me the phone. He goes, when are you going to marry my daughter? And I said, apparently you've been talking to my mom, because she says the same thing. So Christmas Eve, I called him and asked him for permission to marry his daughter. And he said, woo-hoo! They're so happy. I can't believe it. I'm so happy, so happy. And then I said, but you can't tell anybody because nobody knows. It's a surprise. Cheryl, come here, hurry, I gotta tell you something. I'm like, okay, you can tell her. Okay, so, but yeah, Ferrell is an awesome guy. I talked to him on the phone quite a few times, and always lots of love, and he'll be missed.
I don't like to speak, but I don't like awkward pauses either. I'm Summer. I'm a stepdaughter. I don't have any really great stories, and it kind of makes me really sad. My mom and Ferrell started dating when I was in high school, and I'd been living in Utah. And so when they started dating, I didn't even know him. Like, I met him in the summertime, right before they got married. And then we moved back, but I was just kind of a typical high school kid, and you don't hang out with your parents a lot. And then I moved away to college, and I've been gone away for 20 years. And so I'd come and visit and stuff. And I couldn't think of any really good stories, but then I did just think of a story. When I was in high school, I used to love this show called Mystery Science Theater 3000. I don't know if you know what it is, but it's like this really dumb show that they get old movies, and then they have this a guy and some robots sitting in front and just heckling the movie. And it was my very favorite movie, I just loved watching it. And so I would always come out and watch it, and I'd just be laughing. And Ferrele would always come and sit on the other couch on the other side of the room, and he would sit and he would just be laughing and laughing. And one of my very favorite things about Ferrele was his laugh. Like, we always used to tease that he should be a cartoon character voiceover or something like that. He just has like the biggest, hugest, most sincere, full of fun laugh. Anyway, and so he would come and sit on the couch, and I was just like, at some point, like several episodes in, like weeks in, I was like, that's so cool that you like the show with me. He's like, the show is terrible. He's like, but I just come to watch you laugh, and it's so funny. And so he would just be like hysterically laughing, and I thought he liked this show, but he just thought I was so dumb. Anyway. So that's one of my favorite ones that just comes to mind. But I just did love him so deeply. I know every single one of you guys, he would just be like, I love you so much. And this is a common theme. Everybody brings up the same thing. And he'd just be like, I'm just so proud of you, man. I'm just so proud of you. Just all the things because I went to school every little tiny accomplishment, no matter how big or small, it would just be like, oh gosh, I'm just so proud of you. And like Wesley said, like, it does make you like kind of be better or try to be more, worthy of that praise. But what I wished I would have said is how proud of him I am. And what a good example of just unconditional love he was to everybody. It didn't matter your religion, it didn't matter your color, it didn't matter your affiliation, none of that mattered even the tiniest bit. He just loved you, and he saw you in the most perfect light. And I wish I were more like that, and I will try to be more so that he can continue to be proud of me. And I just want to tell you guys how proud I am of him. Anyway, I love you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Bruce Wilcox, and I am Shelley's brother. And Shelley always referred to me as the good-looking, smart one. And so when I first met Shelley, when they had first met, and Ferrele, I believe, was working down at Chesbro's where his dad worked. Ivel was his name, I believe. And so we just had a hell of a good time. The kids were all, I had a son named Ozzy and a stepdaughter named Jenny, and they were all in similar age groups as Shelley and Ferrele's kids at the time. And so we spent a lot of time just being dumb old Idaho folks doing stuff like wrestling and playing guitar and tearing things up. And one time I remember there's a little place up in Kelly Canyon, I can't quite remember it, but we used to go camping up there, and Ivel had this little Honda thing, and I think it was called a Honda 55. And there were these little scooters, and they just went all over the place. And one day, I don't know how it ended up like that, but me and Ferrele ended up on the smallest motorcycle you've ever seen in your life, and we were trying to go up this canyon. And we ended up falling off, laughing so damned hard, and we couldn't get the thing back up. But he was always a joy to be around for me. And speaking of the wrestling, we would occasionally have a beer. And so I decided that I needed to wrestle Ferrele because I could wrestle almost anybody, but I'd start wrestling with Ferrele furiously, and then all of a sudden he would just go, boom, and just put me to the mat, so I had no chance at all. And later on, we had a lot of fun times singing very discoordinated, non-tuneful songs, but we sang them with vigor. And we went through a bunch of different guitars together. And in fact, the last time I think I talked to Ferrele, which I think was maybe in April, we live over in the Tri-Cities in Washington. And I had just after many, many years of not playing, I had got a bunch of all 4 of my guitars really out, and I retuned them and put new strings on them and everything else. And I have a guitar called a dobro, which is one of the ones with the big chrome hubcap on the front, a lot of times used as a slide guitar. And I started playing it, and it seemed like it had a buzz in it. And then I remembered it was supposed to have a buzz in it. But I took the damn thing apart, and I had it on my bench, and I sent pictures to Ferrele. And we talked guitars, and it was a long time since we played anything, but it was really nice to remember those days of playing guitars together. And literally how damn much fun we had when the kids were little, just running around, wrestling, playing music, eating, tearing things up in general. And we just had a great time, just one of those good old-fashioned family times. And I agree with everybody else. Ferrele was a hell of a man. He loved everybody, and everybody loved him. And one other thing I remember is years later, he was working as a manager out in a fresh pack place, I think out in the little town of Yukon. And almost everybody that worked out there was Hispanic. And so Ferrele took it on his own to learn how to speak Spanish. And, he's a big old guy, and they called him, I think they called him El Gordo. I think they called him El Gordo, but I'm not sure. But they really liked him because he showed, for even people that he didn't know and didn't know much about their culture, he just showed respect for them, and they consequently showed respect back for him, and they just had one of the most nicest relationships you could imagine. And it was just a testament to who Ferrele was. He was just a hell of a man, and a good family man, a loving fellow, and I will miss him. So rest in peace, brother.
Okay. Drive safe.
See ya. So how's this? Can y'all hear? Better? If I talk back here, because sometimes people don't want it. If you eat the mic, everybody can hear you really well. But if you don't want to get COVID and you want to sit back here, can you still hear me if I sit back here? Yes. No? Turn it up? Lizzie can. Lizzie can hear me. Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Still too quiet?
It's okay.
Jeremiah. Oh, just checking, just see if you can hear. Oh, I guess I wasn't watching. Ah.
before everybody leaves.
Yes, come. Who's leaving? Brett and Ryan are leaving because they're punks.
Wait, we should do that.
One thing I forgot to tell. In high school, all my friends thought my dad was cool because he listened to rock and roll. It just popped up. His dad listens to rock and roll. Really? Yeah. Cool. Yeah. That's it.
They don't have to be long.
Okay.
That's all right.
So she wants this. She. Is that annoying?
Control yourself.
I probably don't even need the microphone. Checking. Oh yes. Okay, now I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah. So I have a story per Grandma Cheryl. Well, okay. My memory sucks too, like you, Coco. But I'm gonna try. So I know one night he used to fall asleep all the time, like when everyone was awake. You would like be talking to him and he wouldn't respond, and you'd look over and he'd be like and oh, his snoring. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So one night he totally passed out, and I wanted to paint his toenails bright red. And I brought it up to Grandma Cheryl, like, because I was like, I don't want to do it by myself. I don't want to get in trouble, you know, maybe. And she was down for it. She was like, okay, I'll go get the nail polish. Like, and she helped me, and they were perfect. Like, he just went to a salon. So the next morning, I am sleeping soundly in my bed. And he gets up to take a shower. He used to get up early for work. And I literally wake up to him screaming, like just this girlish scream, and I all I hear is her start laughing in her room, and I was like, oh crap! And he said that when he didn't notice till he got in the shower, and he said he looked down and he thought his toenails were bleeding, but that was just hilarious. This is Taylor. This is my little sister. This is his little granddaughter.
Taylor.
Yeah, it's just tell me the story. What's up, baby girl? She tell him about the Grandpa Cheryl. I don't remember that. She used to she couldn't get it right. She'd always mix it up. It was so cute.
Hello?
Hi.
I'm Taylor. I'm 11 years old. I
Okay, your story about the t-shirt, bleaching your shirt.
Grandpa Ferrele, he is my grandpa.
See?
So,
See?
yeah. No, I said Grandpa Ferrele, Mom.
No, you said Grandma Ferrele.
I mean, no, I said Grandpa.
It sounded like Grandma. Anyways.
He's my grandpa. Spencer is my father. That's how he is my grandpa.
Okay, this is the last call. Does anybody else want to come and talk?
Oh, more stories. I want to hear stories.
We can play popcorn and put people on the spot like girls' camp testimony meeting.
Do it. Call on people. Seriously, call on somebody.
JT Zemp has a story.
Oh, jeez.
You asked for it. And then tell people to take candy bars and stories and stuff.
All right, so I've got a couple of short stories.
And
Can
then
I-
Leslie will say close and prayer when we're...
All right. I want to hear more stories. This is supposed to be like fun, hang out, tell me some stories. I want to hear like stuff that I didn't know from when I was growing up. Is the microphone intimidating? We were thinking about doing like a campfire, but then we figured like it would be like this tiny little thing and then everybody would be sitting so far out that it wouldn't really be fun as a campfire. But campfires are always fun to tell stories. We do. Chris says we've got the smoke, which is totally true. So I've got like 3 quick stories. I don't know. I just don't want this to be the JT show. But like, so when my mom and Ferrele were dating, this was like, in the late 80s, right? So I would have been, like 13 and Summer was like 15. I remember one time, one of the very first times that we were meeting Ferrele. This is probably maybe the second or third time that I had met Ferrele before they were like really seriously dating. But he was talking to Summer and he was so kind. He was like just asking her about what she was into. And she said, she was in junior high at the time and she was playing, I guess she wouldn't have been 15, younger. She was playing the cello. He's like, oh yeah, tell me about the cello. And she told him a little bit about the cello and how she like rented one. He's like, oh yeah, tell me about that. And Summer said something about how someday I really want to be a great cellist and I want to buy a cello. And he's like, oh yeah, how much do they cost? And she's like $6,000. And you could tell in Summer's voice that like she, like that's an amount that was just like unattainable. Like you got to be a billionaire to have $6,000. And Ferrell's like, well, my summer bonus is coming up. Maybe would you like it if I bought you a cello? And like the thing is like he was 100% sincere. And then my mom kind of slapped him and said, no, you're not going to buy her a cello, and kind of snapped him out of it. But for a second there, like he was honestly considering buying her a cello until, my mom talked him out of it, which was probably a smart thing to do.
My potential was really low.
Oh, Spence and I rapping. Well, that's definitely a Spencer story. All right, we'll tell the Spence rapping story. I don't know which one. There are thousands of them. I figured you'd want to hear the story about us blowing stuff up. That was way more cool. That was. Sorry, can you yell louder? I don't know that story. I probably blocked that one out. I can. Are you serious? You probably know better than I do. So Shelly's saying she wants to hear the story about how Spence and I used to write raps. And we were planning on being famous, but obviously that didn't pan out. So story number 2. When, I don't know, let's see, I probably would have been 15 or so. Ferrele got a motorcycle. And it was like a touring bike. I don't remember, like a Honda Goldwing, maybe. I don't remember. And it was a Yamaha 800. And the coolest thing, like it kind of inspired me. Like I remember we would my mom would drive the little white car and load up that car full of kids, and Ferrele would take the motorbike and then we'd swap out kids riding on the back, and we went through like Yellowstone. It was like the coolest way to experience Yellowstone. And it was just beautiful because you could look out on your left, look out on your right, and just see and smell and hear. And it was super cool. So I ended up buying a scooter and like a super classy motor scooter. And we did the same thing a couple of years ago, took it on through Yellowstone, and it was pretty cool. At least I thought so. And then, let's see, there was a third story. Now I can't remember what it was. What's that? That was a Spencer story. Yeah, we can. That wasn't a Ferrele story. He never found out about that one until we were all adults. So, statute of limitations was passed. There's one more, and I can't remember what it was. I mean, there's so many. Like y'all have said, like there's just a bajillion about how he cared about everybody. I remember he told me that like if I ever divorced Heather, he would divorce me. Like he cared more about Heather than he cared about me, which actually is a pretty common sentiment. Like if you know Heather, you feel the same way. Yeah, sorry. I can't remember the last one I was thinking of that was like, oh yeah, that'd be worth sharing.
people to take a candy bar and take a little story thing.
So here, I'm gonna grab a prop. So I guess his most recent favorite candy bar is Reese's Crispy Crunchy bar. And so there's a whole bunch of them. These are for y'all to take to experience Grandpa's most recent favoritist candy bar. So please take a candy bar. And what else?
Things Megan made the little basket on there.
So over here, there's some stuff. There are also takeaways.
Do you need a model?
Yeah.
Okay.
Eli's gonna model these. Take him around. So Eli's gonna model them, and we got a little program, and we've got a little packet of seeds. Megan, what is that? I wasn't there for the construction. Oh yeah, they had a bird feeder. They loved watching the squirrels and the birds, and the dogs chasing the squirrels and the birds. Yeah, so seeds to feed the birds.
Grandma shooting the squirrels.
And shooting the squirrels. All right, Chris, come on.
I also made bubbles if anybody wants them. I didn't make them, I decorated them.
Later in life, when my dad was pretty much disabled, Cheryl's always had a fascination with birds, and they've always had a bird feeder. My dad bought this Red Ryder BB gun so he could shoot the squirrels. And he was basically got up in the morning, he would sit in one spot all day because he couldn't move around. He would just have that gun ready, and we'd be talking, oh. That was like his goal in life. And I guess while I'm up here, I remembered something about when him and Cheryl were dating. When he met her, I just barely got my driver's license, so I was always still in the car, taking the car. But he would spend all day waxing it and washing it. I remember one time me and my friend went out, and he said, be home by blah, blah, blah. I'm going out with Cheryl. He'd spend all day just polishing his car up. Okay, so, I came home the time I was supposed to. Say, all right, son, love you, bye. And he goes out the door, and I turned on TV, and I just sat down, and my dad comes running up the stairs. There's fingerprints all over the steering wheel. He was like, sorry, I had my hands on it. God. And he just threw something down and went back out. I could see him out there wiping it off. I don't know where that came from, but I remember it now, how anal he was about the car being just spotless. I got fingerprints on the steering wheel. That was funny.
As long as they're at 10 and 2.
Would you rather I don't use it?
All right, I remember the last story. So we were teenagers, right? When my mom and Ferrelle got married, and I used to love to play Nintendo, right? And so I remember, oh yeah, we got a Nintendo fan back here. Woo! So I'd get home from school and like play Nintendo, and he would come home from work, and he would tolerate it for about 9 seconds, and he would say, "JT, turn that dang music off." We wouldn't, I don't know, he'd say, "Turn that damn music off. Can't stand it anymore." And then he would watch like Wings. Wings. And he loved watching like World War II, like plane documentaries. Like he would watch like every single, like, what is it, like History Channel episode on any airplane ever built or any naval ship ever built. And he loved documentaries about.
And you could like pick them out in the sky when it was just a little speck.
Oh yeah, yeah, he'd do that too. Like you'd see some like, fly, some speck of something way off in the distance. He'd be like, oh yeah, that's a XYZ PDQ 52. I'm like, oh yeah. Like, are you sure about that? And then there was something else that just came to my mind. I can't believe you all don't have more stories. Like, I can't believe I don't have more stories. They were just all funny and all fun. Okay, Eli's going to share a story. Yeah, make sure it's about Grandpa.
So, okay, so this like sort of references to Grandpa. It sort of is about Grandpa, not necessarily, kind of, sort of. So, anyways, we all know Cassidy's story about how she painted his toenails, right? So I don't remember. I think this is when our parents went on a cruise and we went to stay at their house. No, wait, this wasn't. So we were just on a trip, right? And so Emma, she was like, oh, I think we should do that to Dad. And so, oh yeah, this was Thanksgiving. So me, Coco, and Emma, after he told us that story, we thought we should go and do it to JT. So he was like napping, and we attempted to give him a makeover and stuff. And he woke up.
Wait, you woke up?
Okay. So we're just doing it, right? And then he woke up while we were doing the makeover. But he was just like, what are you guys doing? He was still half asleep. And then we told him, and he was just like, oh, okay. It was still really funny, though. That's my story.
Watching me laugh is more fun.
Maybe they're content with their experience.
Let's just do it.
All right. Okay. Cass is coming. Okay. Yeah, can you stand by it though?
Yeah.
So the live streamers can hear and see you?
Oh, I didn't know we were filming. It's just
We're not filming, it's just live stream.
Like Uncle Nick.
Oh,
And Grandma.
Uncle Nick!
Yeah. You don't have to do microphone, just if you stand close, if you stand like right here, I think it's fine.
I have so many memories, and it's hard because like when you're not up here, you remember them, then you get up here and you completely forget. So one thing that popped into my head was my 21st birthday, the day after my 21st birthday. He called me really early in the morning at like 6, and he never does that. And I was super hungover, and he called me, and he was just like screaming in my ear. And he was like, "Hi, honey, how you feeling?" Like, he's like, "You hungover?" And I'm like, "Bro," and he just that's all he wanted to do was just be loud in my ear. It was just so funny. God, there's so many things. I don't remember that though. Like, I know. There was one more. I don't remember. But yeah, it's like the 4th time.
That's all right.
I don't have to have
Emma, do it.
All right, I think that's it. Unless, Emma's got a story. All right. Does anybody else want to? I think the natives. I think we're all getting a little restless. Coco has a story. All right, Emma's got a story. Coco's got a story, and then does somebody else want to say like a closing prayer?
Wesley said he would.
Wes, you all right? Okay. So Emma and Coco, and then Wes.
Okay, so my brother does ballroom, and so I walk in, and he's like, Grandpa's like, "So what do you do?" I'm like, "Polynesian dancing," and then he was like, "Show me that hip," and I was like, "Yeah, no."
Show us that hip.
No!
Dude. So I have like same thing with Cass. I like think of so many stories and then I can't remember any when I come up here. But one that's like always I think about always is so I have 2 step siblings and then Amelia over here. But Araya was here earlier. But Mitchell, the one that wasn't able to come today, we were all just being really stupid kids. We were very stupid kids. And so we were all downstairs, and there was a special air mattress blown up for one of us to sleep on. Us being the troublesome kids we're like, you know what? We want to see if we can have Mitchell touch the ceiling. So what we did is we all took turns just testing out if it was safe. And so Mitchell would get on at the end or whatever. And then one of us would jump as hard as we could on the other side. And he'd just go, woo, and then land. And we were like, no, we want to go harder. And so we kept jumping and jumping, and all of us would take turns getting thrown off or whatever. One of us, like, hit our head on the cabinet or whatever. It was no big deal. And then Mitchell, he was jumping up, and then he fell down and got the wind knocked out of him. Anyway, and so we like ran upstairs as stupid little kids, and we're like, Grampy, Mitchell can't breathe. He says he got the wind knocked out of him or whatever. And he's like, I remember this so vividly, and he just had the loudest scoff. He was just so, he was like, ugh. And he's like, okay, bring him upstairs. And so someone brought him upstairs, and he was just laying on the ground. And then Grampy gave him like his oxygen, and he's like, yeah. So Mitchell was laying on the ground with this oxygen tube, and Grampy just kept saying all the jokes, making fun of Mitchell. He's like, I can't even like remember them because I'm like stage fright right now, but we were all just dying laughing, and Grampy was making fun of Mitchell because he was like on the ground crying with his oxygen tube, and he's like, this is why this is why you shouldn't be stupid kids and jump on the thing, or like I wonder if the air mattress got the wind knocked out of it, or just like stupid things. And I remember how vividly we were all laughing as Mitchell was crying on the floor with the oxygen tube. Anyway, that was just Grampy, is he would always, like, just make fun out of any situation he could. Anyway, I remembered that, and I thought it was funny, so.
Oh, but it's cool.
That's Jack. I think that's Jack.
Dear Father in heaven, we thank you for this opportunity to get together to remember Uncle Ferrele. We're grateful for his love and personality, inspiration, and all that he is and was and is to all of us. We have special blessing over everybody, especially Aunt Cheryl, his mom, children, grandchildren, all of us who knew and loved him, that they will have peace and comfort at this time, and Father, we're grateful for Uncle Ferrele we pray that we can remember him, and especially all the good times, and we're grateful for the peace of the knowledge that he's well and happy and at peace himself, and we love thee, and we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Oh yeah.
And we rolled
it
down the thing. And remember when one of us fell off and he was like, what are you doing?
What's that?
And then he was like, yeah, he was like,
right, as everybody's packing up, I'm gonna read this poem that Egan put on these candles, and I thought it was a really good poem, so I'll share it as everybody's leaving. So it reads, as I sit in heaven and watch you every day, I try to let you know with signs I never went away. I hear you when you're laughing and watch you as you sleep. I even place my arms around you to calm you as you weep. I see you wish the days, begging to have me home, so I try and send you signs so you know you're not alone. Heaven is truly beautiful, just you wait and see. So live your life, laugh again, enjoy yourself, be free. Then I know with every breath you take, you'll be taking one for me.
Ending now. Unless you want to get on.
What? Oh, I was like. Wait. Y'all, thank you for coming. It was so fun to have you all. Well, just.